Today, me and Sean are here with our first guest, who is the man himself, the man of the hour,
The one and only.
the one and only,
The great.
the great.
Not Gonzalez, because that's a wrestler.
He actually made the intro for us. He filmed the entire thing.
He filmed the intro. You can check him out at Jake Gonzalez Visuals on Instagram. It's probably like 1 billion people following him right now.
It's like, I don't know, he has quite a few followers, but
He's very famous in Corpus Christi.
but Jake,
Well, at least for us.
say hello to the people.
This is Jake Gonzalez.
This is the Jake Gonzalez, so you're best recognized.
Hello, everyone.
I'm sorry, I didn't expect
So
that.
Jake, if y'all are probably all wondering like, who's Jake Gonzalez? First of all, you probably do know him more than you probably know us.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the first thing. Secondly, why is Jake Gonzalez right now on their podcast?
Yeah, at this time of night. Anyways, but
So why don't you explain that, Jake? What are you here for tonight?
They told me there was gonna be food, and there was food.
That's actually quite the story for another time.
Yeah, that you paid for though.
Let's just say 3 extra fries kind of works out. Being young and looking high kind of works.
Okay.
Being stonework student and everything.
I'm sorry.
Oh, fuck! I'm so sorry.
I'm
If
sorry.
you want to tune out
Okay.
right now, I totally understand. But
Okay, I'm keeping all that.
He just needs some water, okay?
I'm fine. Okay, so the only way we were here to pull Jake is to tell him that we were going to talk about his favorite slasher film, if I'm correct.
No, this is basically his second favorite slasher film.
One of my favorites is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because number one is you'll figure that one out probably later on.
What is your number one?
Undecided.
You can say.
No, I'm pretty sure I know what it is.
What is it?
Scream.
Is it Scream?
Well, Scream was the movie that got me wanting to make movies. I wouldn't say it's my favorite slasher though.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Okay, I never knew that.
Oh, this is your favorite.
Should have known him
Okay,
like 4
okay.
years
Well,
ago.
okay.
Couldn't figure that shit out.
Okay. This is your favorite, I would say, slasher.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so we're gonna talk about Jake's favorite slasher, which is Michael Myers, notably known for Halloween.
1978.
And
Is
we're
that correct?
we're gonna talk about the '78 version, not any of the fucking bullcorn.
I think a really interesting.
We're
thing
not talking about Resurrection. I mean, maybe we might, but right now we're talking about the
We'll burn
78.
that bridge when we cross.
It's really kind of interesting because I believe. How many times have you seen this movie, Renee?
I've seen it fully once.
Fully once, really?
Yeah, and I was like 18.
Okay.
But like bits and pieces when I was like 5 years old.
And Jake, how many times have you seen it?
Quite a few, honestly. I saw it for the first time when I was about maybe 10 or 11 years old, and I'm 21 now. So.
Yeah, I'm 38.
Viewers, we do not like to disclose our age.
Yeah, so it's been quite a few times already that I've seen it.
And it's really interesting because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know this, but I just recently saw this movie about, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
I've always promised Jake that I would watch the movie. So I decided, you know what, this new one's coming out. I'm finally going to give it the shot. And I think this is going to be a really good way to explain how I feel about this movie. So I think we should pretty much get into it.
Okay,
Spoiler
so
alert.
just so like a
Let's do.
disclaimer and kind of a side note, this movie is more fresh in your guys' head and more so in Jake's head because he knows this fucking everything that happened with this movie and everything in between. I haven't seen fully the movie in about
5 years.
5 years. This is
5 good.
5 years.
5 big years.
So like, I mean, but yeah, so. But I do love Michael Myers because he did fucking freak me the fuck out when I was a 5-year-old kid, and so yeah, and then I fell in love with
And
him.
you also love John Carpenter, so.
No, I don't like
makes
John
sense.
Carpenter.
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna get into this. We're going into Halloween 1978.
All right, let's do
So,
it.
Jake, let's get started with this. You basically, how about you explain? How does the movie begin?
The movie begins with this iconic long oneer that starts off. It's a POV shot, essentially. The entire shot is starting from the outside of the Myers house in 1963, and it basically follows from the front all the way around the back, sneaking in, him grabbing a knife, following his nubile sister upstairs, and then stabbing her multiple times.
You know, what I think is kind of interesting about this scene is that Jake, when we were watching this scene, he was kind of disappointed in what he was seeing because we were watching like the PG version of it or something like that.
We were watching it on HBO.
I was like, wow, they're really being censored with this, and he's like,
Wait, wasn't there like more nudity?
yeah. There's
Well, there's not a whole lot of nudity in the film, but in the beginning there is. Honestly, if you watch the original version, you kind of can't tell because like everything's like so like blurry and all over the place. But I remember like watching this like HBO like cut version with Sean, and I was like, wait, they totally like cut it out. It's like there's like a full on cut in the middle of this of this shot, and I'm like, what the hell?
So like
I got mad.
He basically just like stabs her, but like she hits the floor and then he just walks off. Like, all right,
chill. Once it's done, it's
chill.
done.
Try again.
Try again. So yeah, he basically just walks downstairs. There's like cops waiting outside, right?
No, it's his parents.
Oh, is it his parents are
It's
waiting
like,
outside?
Michael, what are you doing?
Yeah, and
I do remember that.
They take off the mask and it's just a young little Michael.
And he's just like petrified of what he's done.
Not
I wouldn't say
not
that.
even really that. He's pure emotionless at this point. He's already done it, and that's kind of the downfall of what his like regular psychosis is.
Yeah.
So that's in 1963.
I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about.
I mean, he's
too.
a 5-year-old child, and he just like lost 7-year-old child, and he lost everything, like mentally.
Yeah, just like completely gone, wiped.
That's kind of crazy to think that too, and especially considering like he like starts off really that young, and he kind of just it progresses. So what does it go like? It goes into what, like a 15-year span after that?
15 years later, yeah. Depending on which version you watch, and there's a cut that they don't fully release anymore, but there's a TV version that they had. The movie was still coming out on TV way back when. Where it goes from that whole opening scene to this scene, probably about maybe a year or two later, I can't remember, of Dr. Loomis in excuse me, in the Smithsonian Sanitarium trying to convince the staff to ante up security and get them transferred to a maximum security ward. And then from there it goes to actually same time period, but it just cuts to like a different time of day, I guess, and it's him walking down the hall, and he goes and he sees Michael in his room, still a child.
Oh, really? That's really
Still
interesting.
a child, and he's just like sitting there staring at the window. So that's from the TV version. There's also a couple different, like, also in the TV version, a couple different shots mixed in with the regular narrative of the film. Not too like major. Well, one of them is, and I can see why they cut it out. But it's right after Michael has escaped the sanitarium and sanitarium.
It's like it's more like a asylum of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Because he saw other people, and they're all kind of like
penitentiary.
Which brings us to it. You go basically going out of that beginning scene, we go to years later, and you have what's his name,
the psychiatrist,
which is Loomis,
Dr. Loomis,
Dr. Loomis, and he's basically being introduced as he's like specifically trying to work with Michael Myers, correct?
Yeah, well, he was assigned to him whenever he was a kid, and sorry, my voice is going. Has been a part of Michael's entire life, basically. Can I get some water, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got you.
Thank you.
It's not bottled, but it's tap water.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it has that effect.
Shut up. So Loomis has been assigned to Michael all these years, and is convinced that he's pure evil.
Yeah,
So
I remember
I do
specifically
that.
saying that.
Which, when you think about it nowadays, is really far-fetched.
Yeah, it's kind of really far-fetched.
Yeah,
He-
he's
he-
like, this fucking kid's evil.
the little kid
Just trying to choke
makes
him.
one mistake and he's like, this guy's fucked up. But no, so he shows up there, and then they figure out that the gate's basically like unlocked of some sort, or something's gone wrong, and they see a bunch of
the gate is open, and there's a lot of patients just running around in the rain,
Yeah.
in the dark. So they pull up to the gate to see what's going on. Loomis gets out to go check on it. And that's when we see, very briefly for the first time, Michael as an adult.
Yeah, as old, and he
Yeah.
like climbs like a monkey on top of the car. If I
Yeah,
remember
just like he
correctly.
hops on the back of the car.
I
and, like,
think I remember.
And he
that.
grabs her hand. His hand grabs her face. He's like, and
Yeah,
like
he tries to like pull her out of the car, or like, just fully rip her head off, but she pulls away, and then she gets spooked, hops out of the car. In which case he jumps in and
He takes
drives
off the car.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he doesn't know how to drive.
supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly.
I don't know that. Well, how
Well,
did he,
I
how did
mean,
he get
he's
there?
21.
Yeah. Well, he's
Oh,
20.
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
he-
Well,
how would
he's
he know?
20.
He's been in the asylum for
his whole life, and
almost
there's
his
no way
whole
there's
life.
driving lessons. That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
Yeah, well,
it's not a
they-
driver's ed class. Like, oh, here, when you get out, you're fine. You can drive wherever you want. Drive to fucking Europe.
No, well, they address it too a little bit later on. Dr. Loomis is talking with Dr. Wynn, who is another doctor there, of course.
Well, you know everybody.
Well, it'll come into play later.
Okay.
But and Dr. Wynn is telling him, like, well, he can't be going to Haddonfield because he can't drive a car. That's when Lewis gets mad. He says he was doing very well last night. Maybe someone around here gave him lessons, but it's never fully addressed as to how he learned to drive a car.
Maybe he's just some psychotic fucking genius.
Or maybe that's where he was really pissed at his sister.
She never taught him to drive.
Son of a bitch.
I see you driving mom's car.
Yeah, he drives mom's car. You know I can drive that shit.
Bitch, I'll teach you.
He never took me to Toys R Us.
So we go from there, and once we go back to the city where they're basically at, which is supposed to be like somewhere in Illinois.
But I do remember specifically. Sorry to cut you off, but I do remember him like crashing the car. Or am I?
I don't think he crushes the car.
He doesn't crash the car, but at some point, Loomis, on his way to Haddonfield, finds a pickup truck.
Yeah, but
that's been like pulled off the side of the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My bad.
And
But
that's how he acquires his famous jumpsuit.
Yeah. Okay,
Truck
yeah,
driver
that's what I
outfit.
remember.
yeah. He kills that mechanic and then steals a mask from the hardware store. If that's correct as well.
Yes.
So-
And then he finds a new vehicle that he gets into.
No, it's the same.
Is it the same vehicle?
It's the same vehicle. It's the hospital's assigned car.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, because at some point later, Loomis finds that same car on the street, and that's how he knows that Michael is there, because it's the car that was stolen from him. Thank you.
So we go from there, and we're introduced basically to Laurie Strode, right?
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
It was fucking infamous.
Yeah, and then she's just basically like, this is the infamous kind of shot where she's walking down the street and she's
Well, it's innocent.
it's in Halloween, right?
Yeah, it's a couple days. Was it a day before Halloween Eve?
No, I believe that
No,
is
no,
Halloween.
it is
That's
Halloween.
Halloween. It's
Yeah,
Halloween day,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's just kind of
Okay.
like leading into the Halloween night.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So she was
still
like
Halloween
walking.
day.
She was walking from school.
Yeah, I think
No,
she's
she was walking to school.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's walking to school, and she was with her
okay.
friend.
Okay.
I think that's the first
no,
time.
she's walking alone, and that's when she's met up with Tommy Doyle, the little boy that she babysits.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
I think I remember that.
he
He's
runs
like a
up to
little
her
bastard.
and he's like asking like, oh, what are we gonna do? Like, we're gonna like make popcorn, and, like, watch scary movies and carve jack-o'-lanterns and all that. So he's running along with her, and they pass by the Myers house, and she's dropping off a key because her dad is a realtor. They're trying to sell the house, and they have people going by to see it. So that's why she goes and she leaves the key under the mat. That's when we got our first glimpse of Michael with the mask on from behind, because his figure walks up. Actually, sorry, excuse me. In the script, he's not called Michael directly. He's called the Shape.
Yeah, he's called the Shape. I do remember that.
Because that's really all we see of him for the most part. We only see like the shape and shadow of him for a good majority of the movie. So
we also get his. From there we go to her at school, right? And that's where they got the shot of her.
Okay, this is where I'm just completely like blank on what happens next because I don't remember her at all at school.
Well, she's just sitting down, remember?
So
and she looks out the window.
She's in class and she looks out
Is
the
it
window.
like famously like where he's out there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just out there just standing, and that's when she first notices like, who the heck's that?
And he's thinking like, I want to fuck this bitch up.
I don't know what he's thinking, but
I mean, like,
it's kind of weird though.
I mean, it is weird that he's just like he escapes an asylum, goes back to Haddonfield, and finds his like prey, I guess. And it's just like
if you hadn't like, I guess when the movie first came out, like of course all the sequels in canon hadn't been written yet. So it was this like just idea that he like went home for whatever reason, like to his old house.
Yeah.
And the first person that he sees by happen chance is Laurie Strode's character, and he just goes after her.
Yeah.
You know, there's no like reason or.
It's not. I don't want to say it's necessarily like a prey. It's just like he. I'm guessing the way they were trying to build on it was he was just some like psychotic killer.
Yeah.
And then,
that's probably like
his meaning. All it really was to kill, and that's what he was trying to do was find a way.
And Michael Myers really was like one of the first, like what we know is like a psychotic, serial killer.
Like slasher.
Yeah, well, like the first slasher was, if you want to be real technical about it, was Peeping Tom in 1968, I believe, a predecessor to Psycho. Psycho was the first like big blockbuster slasher movie that came out. And then Halloween came, and then that was the beginning of the slasher.
And fucking crushed the game.
Which is funny because you think
the fucking game.
And just took it all.
And it's funny too because you think of slashers and you think of what like Michael Myers, Jason.
Yeah, but you
Freddy
can't
Krueger.
say that like because this started in '78 and then Friday the 13th came out in what '80.
Friday the 13th came out in '80.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street came out in '81, but
So
Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in '74.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. That's right.
And no one really considered that like a slasher movie.
I mean, but
guess.
it's fucking brutal. Anyways, yeah.
So we see her. She sees him basically. Let's get back on track.
Right.
She sees him from outside, and we kind of start getting into like her getting out of school, if I'm correct, right? And she's trying to walk home.
Yeah, she's walking home with her friends.
With
Actually,
her friends.
that's when we get like.
I mean,
we're first introduced to the stereotypical
like teenage girls.
Yeah,
Teenagers.
teenage girls. Well, like they each have like their own, like what we know now as a stereotypical character. So Laurie's like the nerd, very quiet, very shy.
She's really a sweetheart.
Yeah, and then Linda is the
full of fire.
yeah, she's a pistol.
I never heard that being used, but I'm gonna start using that now.
And then there's Annie, who's the daughter of Sheriff Brackett, and she's just kind of more the smart mouth. Like both Annie and Linda are like the like sexually driven, of course. Linda being more so, and then Annie's definitely just more of a smart mouth, kind of a lot of attitude, lots of sass.
Oh, she's like, fuck it, fuck them.
And that's because you're kind of introduced to these characters, but at the same time you're gonna see Michael Myers. Not Austin Powers. Sorry, that's a different movie review. I apologize. Yeah, baby. No. Michael Myers is you can see him in like the distance. He's hiding behind that one bush.
Yeah.
And that's
That's a little bit later on. It's first with all three girls. It's with him in the car. He's still driving.
Oh yeah, because he's kind of like driving from a distance. He's
a little bit, yeah. You see it.
Oh,
you could tell she
Okay.
notices something's wrong
Yeah.
because they will walk and then the car would just stop.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Well, like he like drives by, and that's when Annie does the famous line. It's like, "Hey, jerk, speed kills," and then he stops the car.
Yeah. He just stops
then
the car,
he
but he
keeps
stops the
going.
car like there, and then
he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
But he just keeps driving off. He's like,
Yeah.
whatever.
He's on that right now.
Which is when you first get like a taste of just what kind of
Felt like eerie.
Yeah, it's
eerie,
definitely
of course,
super
but-
creepy. If I was walking down the street and it said, "Hey, fuck you," and then like the car stops, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then
I do think that creates the idea though that for all of us that when we do walk down the street or somebody, typically you don't see that anymore nowadays. I think that's created that fear in people that when they walk down the street and they see a car driving by, if they were to stop like that, that's what you would imply. There's something eerie about that person. You know what I mean?
Something psychotically wrong.
It's not good.
But so then there is later on though is when she starts seeing him like actually from a distance, but she's not too sure.
Well, it's after that is when he's behind the bush. like full on. It's almost kind of
he's just literally
kind of funny. Yeah, like he's like kind of peeking out.
See,
fun fact actually, in that shot, if you look real closely, if you're not focused on him, you can see John Carpenter's cigarette smoke floating into the frame.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
It's really funny, and they're just like, really, you're gonna do like one more take?
You know what I thought was pretty interesting? What you told me about. So I didn't know this. I don't know if you knew this or not, Renee.
I probably did.
But you know that scene where he's standing there behind that bush, and you look at the grass and it looks like it's fall, and it's like and there's a bunch of leaves on the floor.
If you look all over like the shots of like the neighborhood, there's all these leaves on the ground.
Okay.
All that came from 3 trash bags filled with leaves because the production budget was so small.
They couldn't afford leaves.
Or leaves. And
Like
so
they were like,
sad.
John Carpenter's like, we could hire a leaf blower. He's like, what do you mean you are the leaf blower?
He's picking up a bunch of leaves.
No, it was the actors.
It was the actors.
The actors were
What?
going
Oh
around.
my god!
Michael Myers, the ultimate leaf blower. Give that man some credit.
Oh my god!
It was 3 trash bags full of leaves, and that's all. Like for the entire movie. So they would go and they would dump them out. And then after a take, the actors would have to go and pick them all up and put them back in the trash bags.
Was it actual like fall in?
No.
Oh, definitely
They shot in California.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that.
And,
I mean,
but they're
like,
supposed to be in like is it Illinois, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be Illinois, but they shot in California, Pasadena, and it was in the summer.
Fuck, that must have sucked because they were wearing like fall gear. And like sweaters and like all that shit, and it must have been fucking hot.
He was like, make sure this movie's at night, so these actors, so you can't get them sweating.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I've never been in Pasadena, but like I can just like feel it just being super.
Well, California
nasty.
actually, the
depends on,
temperature
like-
is typically like pretty nice 24/7.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It's like
like
70,
it's
Maybe
like,
it was actually.
It's not Texas.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Texas. That's my
I
problem.
can't imagine walking to that.
I can't imagine if like someone told me to pick up leaves and I was like the fucking lead actor or something. I would be like, excuse me. All right.
Where the PA's at?
We don't have any.
What do you mean? You're the PA. You're the actor. You're the
I'm the
PA.
actor.
Congratulations, you've been promoted.
Like, oh.
Oh shit.
Okay.
I guess. Thanks. So he basically sees her from a distance, or she basically sees him from a distance.
Oh yeah. Well, then
And she points it out to her friend, right?
Yeah, like who's that
Yeah,
guy?
she points it out to her friend, and then she's, she goes along with it. She's joking. No one's there.
And then she doesn't go to the bush or whatever.
So
right?
she does as well. She ends up walking up, and then she realizes that there really is nothing there.
Yeah.
So she feels like maybe she's like, oh man, must be something going on.
Which is, I don't know, as a kid I used to think like, oh, that's creepy because he just disappeared, and then you watch it now as an adult and you're like, this is a long fucking alleyway you could have walked down at any time. So at that point I guess it's just more so like, oh, maybe she's just seeing things, you know.
Yeah.
Of course you know as an audience member that she did.
Yeah.
But during this, Loomis arrives in the city, if I'm correct, right?
Around this time, yeah.
And he figures out, he goes to like the local cemetery to figure out.
He goes to the cemetery.
He goes to the cemetery.
Man,
yeah.
I really don't remember
He's
from this fucking movie.
Yeah, he's walking. This is one of the biggest like mysteries of the movie, and I wonder if it was ever like touched upon like, behind the scenes or anything. But
he goes to Judith Myers Cemetery.
He goes to not the cemetery. Well, he's at a cemetery.
Like the gravestone?
Yeah, her gravestone. But he's talking with like the caretaker, and he's like telling the story of this guy that one night, I guess he was eating dinner, he excused himself at the table, got himself a hacksaw, he went, kissed his wife and his children goodnight, and he proceeded to, and it cuts off.
What?
Because Sam Loomis is like, where are we? And he's like, oh, we're over here.
Which I thought was really interesting too.
He never finishes telling the story.
Yeah, he was telling some sort of strange story about that. Yeah, I remember that too.
About who?
Some guy.
Some guy.
He was like, yeah, town. He's like, every small town has a story like this, and he started telling that story. And so, but he never finishes, so you don't know what happens.
Oh.
But that's where Loomis basically starts talking to the sheriff, right?
But he was
Right where he meets Brackett.
Oh, I got a question. He was saved by Judith Meyer's gravestone, right?
Yeah.
So like, what if that triggered something like in the caretakers or the keeper's like head, like, oh, Judith Meyer's dad fucking killed like people for a living, and like, and
Where is this going?
look, I'm on to something.
Oh
here.
shit!
And this is canon.
Oh
right?
shit, Jake! Don't listen to him.
Jake,
Don't
look,
listen to
look
Jake.
at me. Look at me, Jake.
I'm the captain now.
Okay, Michael
I'm the
Myers. His name is
captain now.
Freddie Myers. Listen.
Freddie
This
Myers.
is perfect. His name is Freddie Myers.
Listen, my name is Griffin.
He was a freelance masoner where he lays brick for a living, but he works really late hours. He's working overnight. I mean, there's no sun, so it's kind of odd to like all the family. But look, listen. He usually works on like.
What are you talking about? What is this nothing to do with
Sean?
It's 2:40 in the morning.
Okay. All right, continue.
So we go back and he
I'll tell you about Freddie Myers. I'm not escaping this.
So Loomis, this is where he's introduced to the sheriff Brackett, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. Well, it's actually
And he starts telling him about how he thinks he's like pure evil.
Oh, okay.
That's a little bit later on. Actually, he meets Sheriff Brackett right after the girls see Sheriff Brackett. That's when he tells them, like, oh, well, someone broke into the store. All they took was a Halloween mask, some rope, and a couple of knives.
Oh, that's scary.
And yeah, I know.
Like, imagine explaining that. Like, imagine you explaining that to some fucking cop.
I'd be like, shit.
Yeah, he broke into my house.
Weren't they like driving up when they were like smoking some pot?
Were they smoking?
Yeah, they were smoking some pot. They're like,
Like,
woo.
hey, like, hey.
She's like, put that shit away. And she's like stoned as fuck. And her dad's like, hey, how's it
She's
going?
not stoned, but she's coughing a lot. But yeah, they drive up. He's like, "Hi," and then, but as they drive off, is when Dr. Loomis comes up and he's just like, "Well, I'd like to talk to the sheriff." He's like, "That's me," and he's just like, "I need a quick moment of your time." He's like, "Well, it's gonna take a little while." He's like, "Please."
He's like, please help me. There's this psychotic killer on the loose.
So
Like,
sheriff walks off. Loomis is there, just like all la-di-da, and that's when you see it from behind him. The car passed by, and it's Michael driving the car.
Nice.
Yeah, that was Michael. That's also where he shows him the house, right? The house that Michael used to live in.
A little bit later, yeah. It's already
Wasn't the
dark
house
when
like a piece of shit? Like they didn't do anything with it. It just like completely like almost in ruin.
I don't remember. I just know that
I definitely know the house was like there was no one living in the house because it would have like,
it was
spiderwebs
vacant.
and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, it was vacant.
but it didn't look like. Did it look like it was being taken care of or anything?
When they shot it, it was in like they set dressed it to look old and decrepit and everything.
Okay.
It wasn't like that bad, but then they I don't want to say remodeled it. I know what you're talking about. I'll get to that in a bit.
Like, what the fuck am I talking about?
Like, really? You know Halloween so well.
He does, right? It's like a book.
When they filmed it, of course, it looked like how it did in the movie, like all old and vacant.
Yeah,
and then they
so vacant.
Yeah,
it definitely felt like it wasn't there like. Well, I'm not trying to skip too much ahead, but there's like at a certain point, like they noticed there's something dead in there, so they definitely know that it was abandoned.
Like what?
There's something like dead because
Are we talking about in real life or in the movie?
No, in the movie.
Oh, that's been abandoned since it happened.
So no one's ever touched it.
Yeah, no.
No. In the movie. Yeah.
Yes, in the story.
Yes, in the story.
But when they were shooting, it was how it looked older, and like they set dressed it for that. And then the last thing they shot was actually the opening scene, that one take, so they had to redo it to make it look all nice and everything.
Okay.
But I think what you were thinking of is after production and after the movie came out, that no one used that house or ever touched it, and what I was saying was it looked like it did in the movie.
Oh, really?
Because no one ever touched it after that.
Did they like buy the house or something?
The city was gonna demolish it, and then a bunch of fans found out that was.
You can't do that.
That's Mike's house.
They signed
Michael Myers' house.
They signed a petition and had the house moved to somewhere else in Pasadena. Now it's a museum.
It's a fucking Halloween museum. That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, surprised that you know that. I don't know what was going through my head. I know what was going through my head.
Your Halloween was going through your head. Happy Halloween!
No, I wasn't thinking of this movie. I was thinking of the 2008 Rob Zombie remake.
Dun dun dun.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
No, okay, so we'll see.
That's for another time.
Okay, and we gotta watch Resurrection. Anyways,
Look at Jake's laugh.
Okay,
That's
okay,
not a
okay,
laugh of
okay.
like happiness. That's a laugh of
okay,
like damn.
I derailed the conversation completely.
So
where were we?
Well, basically, it's been introduced. Loomis is basically saying like Heath believes he's gonna stay around that night or staying around with that house because he believes Michael Myers will return to the home.
Let me ask you this.
So,
at this point, does Loomis have the gun?
Yes, technically he's always had the gun.
Okay, so he just carries his fucking gun around, and he's claims to be a psychiatrist.
He's licensed.
He's licensed.
He has a permit.
Okay, that doesn't mean shit. He's still a psychiatrist. I mean that does mean something, but like he's carrying around a fucking like polar bear gun.
It's not a polar bear.
It's like to hunt polar bears.
It's a Magnum revolver.
That's a polar bear.
that's kind of his a polar bear.
It's to hunt polar bears.
That's a hell of a gun.
That's
Jake.
one hell of a gun.
I don't know.
It looks really bad.
Renee knows his guns. Jake.
I mean, it looks really bad.
To kill a person.
It's a
Jake.
big fucking gun.
Kill a
It's
bird.
a Magnum. Anyway,
I didn't know that shit.
So, like, why? This is just me, like, thinking outside the box. But why is this sheriff like letting this fucking psychotic fucking therapist run around with a gun trying
Because
to
he's licensed.
look for? He's looking for pure evil.
He could have been like, "You're pure evil."
He's all, like the sheriff, like I can see this coming.
Well,
like,
he seems pretty like nonchalant about it because that's when Loomis gives his famous speech where he's like, "I spent 8 years trying to reach him after that."
Okay, yeah.
He's like, I thought he was pure evil, and he goes, "Well, what do we do?"
he's like, you told me that? What the fuck do you expect me to do?
He's like, man, I was just chilling, like busting teenagers for smoking weed. I gotta hunt
I
this
swear,
guy.
I think my daughter's doing it. But I'm not too fucking sure. Why am I telling you this shit? Because I'm a psychiatrist with a Magnum pistol, motherfucker.
He's fucking Puerto Rican. He's Cuban now.
Look, anyway, so we go back. It's going later that night.
Okay.
Lori's
Yeah, it's
babysitting
already
Tommy, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Tommy's his boyfriend. I mean, her boyfriend.
No. Tommy's.
Oh, little Tommy. Little Tommy from down the street. I'm sorry.
Remember
I'm
Lori?
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so Lori's
Son of
babysitting. Lori's babysitting Tommy, while Annie's babysitting Lindsay Wallace. Correct.
Yes. That is
And they're basically unaware that Michael's basically.
yeah, they have no idea. What's
Yeah.
going on.
Okay.
Completely unaware.
And
This is when like the really creepy suspense stuff like starts. Like,
Okay,
it's
so
it's kicked off whenever like
that's when Paul shows up, right?
it's Bob.
Is it Bob?
It's Bob, but Bob shows up later actually because that's Linda's boyfriend.
But what about Annie's boyfriend, Paul?
He's on the phone, but he's never actually.
Oh
seen
yeah,
on
he's
the
never
screen.
seen.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like kind of the stuff I do remember, like Halloween night, where it just kind of everything just kind of gets more creepy and more suspenseful.
And
Yeah.
it's kicked off whenever they actually get to the houses and Michael like, pulls up, gets out of the car, and starts following them immediately.
Yeah, and just starts killing people. Well, I don't know if he
No,
kills
actually, the next kill on screen isn't until a bit later on. If you want to count it,
The first kill though is the first kill of that night is when Annie's in the car. If I'm correct, right?
No, it's not.
It's not that.
It's not that. It's the dog.
Oh, it's the dog. That's what I was saying.
Kills the
Yeah, he
dog?
kills the dog because it's like
Oh,
and then like
Wait a
you hear
minute.
silence. Yeah, he kills the dog.
He kills the dog in the first one?
Yes, he does. Wait,
Doesn't he kill the dog in 2 also?
Part two.
Spoilers.
Yeah, part
I've never
The-
seen the second one.
The
Or
do-
eighth one.
It's been out for fucking decades, Sean. Jesus Christ.
Look.
Yeah.
We'll
So
wa-
the dog
Sean,
dies
we will
first.
watch Resurrection
Yes,
one day,
Don't listen
okay?
To don't listen to Look, so
We're gonna make you watch that fucking movie.
That's like trying to get me to watch Dragon Ball Evolution. That ain't gonna fucking happen, motherfucker.
You're gonna watch Halloween Resurrection with me.
Look. Anyway, so the dog dies first, and then we have Annie trying to go to She's trying to go to
She's
Doyle's
trying
house,
to-
right?
No, she's trying to go pick up Paul. Sorry.
Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, she's trying to go pick up Paul, and that's when Michael's hiding behind the seat, right?
Yeah.
And he grabs her and strangles her, and like slits her throat and kills her.
Okay.
Yeah, he's choking her and he ends up just going inside.
Okay,
of
I'm
her.
sorry. Who was that?
That was Annie.
That was
Annie.
That's the
The
girl that
sheriff's
basically was
daughter.
babysitting, and she had the
Oh, the
Was-
nicer out. She's not the pistol.
no.
Okay.
Yeah. And
You're using my.
Yeah, that's a
my
great
nomenclature.
fucking. That's a great thing right there. Okay.
that's
so,
when
Okay, Annie dies.
So Annie dies,
Oh, that's sad.
and then we go after that. We have Linda and Wallace. They arrive at Wallace's house, right? That's what happened.
Linda and Bob.
Is it
Bob.
Linda? Oh yeah, Linda and Bob. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
that's right.
Fox
Come on,
Wallace.
Sean, how can you forget that?
Yeah, it's Linda and Bob. They show up expecting there to be someone's home, and they end up just like full on PDA making out on the couch.
Which I never saw because we watched it PG. So
No, it was there. They were making out on the couch because
Oh, like in the OG one? Or
yeah,
the original cut?
in the original one and whatever cut there is. It's them making out on the couch. That's when it pulls back and you see Michael like standing like right there.
And he's like, oh, you're not
Boy.
supposed to be doing that.
no.
No.
I'm gonna get you.
Premarital sex.
Hey, to be honest though, when Michael kills Bob, I think that's pretty freaking cool.
That's one of the.
Okay,
That's
so
actually probably the coolest kill in the
Bob
movie.
is when like Michael picks him up. And
Yeah, he
just
picks him
fucking-
up and he goes.
and he fucking impales him and he sticks to the wall.
He's like, "All right, dude, stay there." Yeah.
Bob's like, got it.
Bob's like, "I got you, dude."
That's also the.
Can help me, somebody, please.
That's also the introduction of the famous head tilt that Michael does.
See, and we didn't get to see that either, because in the PG version, it was.
Head
oh,
tilt.
yeah, it's there.
I thought they don't show the head.
Okay,
Yeah,
so he
it's
tilts
there.
his head.
You'd think that there's a lot more cut out of the PG version than there actually is, but yeah, he does the head tilt.
He tilts his head like, what is...
He goes like that.
Like, what
Admiring
is-
is his handiwork type of thing.
I always thought it was like, what is death?
Why? Where is this going? Look,
That's
I-
real deep, Renee.
Huh?
That's real deep.
What is death? Okay, anyways.
look. So we go back, and Linda's like waiting for him. She's like, "Where's he at?" And then you see a ghost, or we basically see like a fucking old school blanket over the head, eyes poked out.
Oh, that's her
ghost.
boyfriend.
Yeah, that's
her boyfriend.
That's supposed to be
Supposed
your
to be
boyfriend.
And
Oh,
this
yeah,
is-
yeah.
She's
I do remember
she's
this.
like,
I remember
why
This
this.
is
so
what I
weird.
was. I
Like,
was.
why
I
you
was
so
saying this earlier, but it took on a different direction. But this is when we get to get a glimpse into the dark humor of Michael.
It kind of is strange. That's the first time in the movie it feels like he has a personality. He was being like, "Hey, I'm about to kill you."
No, when you think about it, like he does have this really like dark humor. He does the whole ghosting, and then when we find the bodies later, he's got Annie on the bed with the tombstone behind her. He like purposely
yeah.
and very carefully hides like Bob's body to like swing out the way that it does.
He's
and
like,
he
yeah, I
hides-
got you.
He hides Linda's body in the closet.
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
if you really,
she's winking at
she's like,
Lori.
"What's up?"
like if you
Fucking
wanted
thumbs
to,
out.
if you wanted her to just find the body, she would have just thrown them all.
Yeah,
over.
just throw him around the room.
But he like very carefully hid those
he's
around
like,
another body that was
"Yeah."
already there.
He's like, I got you, Lori. I'm gonna fucking kill you now.
And Linda's like, I don't know what the fuck, whatever. She thinks it's just weird, or like she decides.
she's flirting and he's not answering, so she gets all pissed off. She
Yeah,
decides
she's
to
like-
call
Lori, yeah,
So she calls Lori. Lori picks up, and at that moment, that's when Michael strangles her
with the damn telephone.
telephone cord.
Okay, so let me ask you this: are we getting to the part where does he already have the knife?
Oh yeah, he said the knife. It's the big like,
He used the knife to kill Bob.
yeah.
Oh,
That's-
he did.
Remember
right?
he went.
What?
Stay there.
What fucking kitchen knife is that giant?
It's a lamson knife.
A what?
A lamson knife.
A lamb son?
Yeah.
Can you please elaborate?
It's
What's it
just-
used for?
It's just a minute.
To cut polar bears?
You can leave your damn polar bears alone, Renee. Shit.
I always thought it was just an exaggerated like knife.
No, I have one of those.
knives like
You have
those.
Or something kind of
Why do
similar.
you have one?
A knife
Why
like
do you
that is
have-
like this.
Oh, then I definitely don't have that. That
It's
sounds like a
big
big
I
ass
mean-
knife.
I get it, Sean. You want to watch Halloween Resurrection? We'll get there. We'll get there.
Took a
Don't
trip
you
on
dare
the
let him do that.
We'll get there,
I actually
Sean.
kind of want to say I think I'd like it. Anyway,
Probably not.
so this is at this point we find Loomis like searching through the streets. And
Yeah,
he
Loomis
realizes-
is like with his gun, with his polar bear gun, fucking
Scaring
screaming at little kids, like, "What the fuck is Michael?"
But the
Myers?"
reason why, oh yeah, he does that funny shit. He goes, the kids are about to go inside the house, and he's like,
Hey, get your
he's
ass
like,
away
get
from
your
there."
ass away from there. And they're like, oh fuck, dude, let's get the hell out of here.
I wouldn't know what to think. And
He smiles at his handiwork. He's like,
Fucking Loomis.
But at that, later on a little bit in that, that's when Loomis finds out that he finds Michael's car
Yeah, Michael.
in the streets.
What kind of car was Michael's car? Was it?
it was a transfer vehicle from Smith's Grove.
Okay, it wasn't like a sports car or anything. Right?
No, it was like an old
Sedan, old like Volkswagen, old like.
I can't think of the name of the car. Hold on.
It was like a station wagon.
Station wagon.
It was a station wagon?
Station wagon.
Oh, was it?
Well, it had the style of a station wagon.
Okay.
But
Almost like a
but
hatchback.
It was like a station wagon if it was a cop car, because it had like the
Okay.
the
I think I know what you're talking
fencing
about.
in the back.
Okay.
And then, okay, so
Kind of
That-
looks like my car.
probably yeah.
think of a station wagon body, but if it had like the separation plates.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So okay, so let's get back to it. So because of that, Lori kind of finds it suspicious what happened to Linda,
She's
right?
like, my
Well,
friend
no
just
one-
kind of hung up.
No one ever like came back.
Poor Linda.
She didn't think of anything at the time because earlier in the day when she was on the phone, Linda or Annie was chewing. And
Chewing.
yeah, she was chewing. So she answers the phone. She's like, "Hello, no, you're."
Oh man, it's so
And
annoying.
she's like, "Who is this?" And she hangs up. And then they call her back. Like, "Why'd you hang up on me?" It's like, "Was that you?" He's like, "Yeah, I was chewing. Couldn't you tell?"
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, that is true. I remember
that makes
that.
sense.
And
though.
even
That
during
makes sense.
and even during like the death scene, she's like, "First I get your famous chewing, now I get your famous squealing."
Oh, okay. So
she
it's
says
yeah. Okay, that's good.
But this time she didn't call back, so she had to kind of feel like this is kind of weird.
No, it was just more so that they never came back at all, like to get
And she's
to
like,
get
oh,
Lindsay
where's
or
my
anyone.
friends? Or anything.
Yeah, so she goes across the street and
Kinda
check on them.
worried. Okay. So she gets worried and checks on the people.
And that's when
Yeah.
she starts searching the home, and she,
Yeah, which when you think about it, like in her mind, like she's just like, "Where are my friends at?" And like almost fully expecting to like walk in on someone just like going at it.
yeah.
You know,
But
it's
she
like,
fuck-
yes, sorry, just
It's
wanted to see
way
where you guys were.
worse than what she ever expected.
yeah, that's where she finds
And
Linda,
she-
basically just strapped to the bed, kind of, or like laid out. In the
Okay,
bed.
so we're here now. So we're here to when they're all dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, cool. So I know all this. I know all this. I just saw it like 5 minutes ago. Okay, cool. So Linda is on the bed.
Linda's
She's,
on
like,
the bed.
stressed
With
out.
the
It's
tombstone.
no, it's not Linda. It's Annie.
Annie. Fucking Annie. Okay.
Annie is on the bed.
How did
Linda-
Annie die? I'm sorry.
Annie's throat was slit.
Yeah, I remember
Annie's
Annie's-
throws-
Annie was in the car. He comes out of the car out of nowhere. And
And
he's
he
like,
just fucking
he's like,
bitch and just like
No, but he's like
Freddy
strangling
Krueger
her.
for Rick and Morty.
He's strangling her at first, and then he just decides to slit her throat.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right, thank you. Okay, so she's there and she's all dead, and Laura's like, "Oh, my friend," and but like more gruesome, and then she doesn't know what to think.
Well, she
Well,
also
she-
sees
she backs-
Judith Myers' headstone behind her too.
Oh,
you
that's
don't notice
fucking
that.
But at the time,
That's
it
Judith
has
Myers.
it's the headstone.
It's
The
just
headstone.
just the headstone. Yeah.
Wait, was the real headstone?
Yes.
Yeah, he took the headstone from the.
Dude, this guy's psychotic.
Nah, he's just
in
chilling,
the,
bro.
in the cemetery scene, whenever they get to her grave, the tombstone is missing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he took the headstone from it. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Okay.
So
good.
she finds that's Annie who sits on the bed, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like freaked out, so she walks backwards and she sees Bob's body swings out of nowhere, which is Jake said it was like he was making it for like his own amusement, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He swings out of nowhere. She's like, "Oh shit!" And she she accidentally opens up the drawer. She looks to her right and she sees her friend Linda just.
I wouldn't say she accidentally opens the door. It's kind of like a haunted. It looks kind of haunted house gaggy. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing just swings
Oh,
up in the
dead
creek
body,
and
yeah.
everything, and it's like it's more funny than anything. So,
Kind of humorous.
but
I mean, that's Michael
It's-
Myers
it's
is kind of
classic.
joke straight.
I actually think that at this point, which is like one of my probably the most cool, I think most interesting parts of the movie, it's like you sing all these things happen at once, you're like freaking out. Like
Yeah.
if you're an audience member, I think back in the day, like especially in the 1970s, you're probably like, holy shit, all this is happening at once. What could be crazier than that? Well, what's crazier than that is when the motherfucker actually shows up and he pulls out his knife.
No. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, he just kind of appears, right?
He's hiding in the dark.
Okay, he's hiding in the dark,
Yeah,
and
she
then you
backs
see his fucking just a mask.
Just a little bit of a mask.
Just a mask. I like that a lot. I just wanted to point that out there.
It's classic.
Yeah, it's classic, and I just really like that a lot.
I thought that was really interesting though, because like it's like the first time you kind of really see like just straight on. Just I like the way they cut the clothes, and you don't really see it cut, but there's kind of like a blood.
Yeah,
like
blood drip.
And like the way she like freaks out, she's like, oh shoot! So she tries to like run out of there. I think that was really cool.
Well, first he like tries to stab her and misses, and then she falls down the stairs.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting too. The way she falls down the stairs, she like straight up like like from the back she falls out.
Yeah, well, she's startled because she moves a little bit. He slices her arm. She freaks out.
I'll be fucking freaked
Reels
out.
back.
Knife.
She reels
Just
back.
the size
and
of
then
the knife
she
would
goes,
freak you out. Is that a fucking sword? What are you doing, dude?
Well, the guy with the sword and the emotionless white face coming at me, he killed all my friends. I'm gonna be fucking scared.
And not even that he like scares her, like he slices her arm.
Yeah.
So she's like, fuck. And
So
then
she reels back, goes over the railing, and then she falls.
Yeah. And then like plummets to her death. Not her death.
Not her death.
Okay, so
he doesn't die for that.
So what happens here is that Michael, this is where the music starts. The dun dun.
I mean, the music's kind of played slightly throughout the film.
Yeah, but it's like ding ding ding. But now it's like dun dun.
Well, now it's
pretty
the
more.
first time these two characters have been like in the same vicinity together.
Yeah.
And this is like the showdown. This
Yeah,
is where
the
the showdown starts.
The showdown.
So she like from there she kind of gets up, I'm guessing, and just runs out of there to try to escape.
What does she do?
She hobbles her way.
Oh, I remember. Okay, I remember now.
Yeah, she hobbles her way to that back entrance place. The door is locked.
Yeah.
She locked herself in this room when Michael's.
It's like a
breaking through the
kitchen
door.
area.
It's like a kitchen, yeah.
Yeah.
And so she ends up breaking the glass with her hands. And
But
then
before
running
that,
outside.
Michael just fucking punches through the fucking door and just like starts like grabbing at the locks or whatever. And then he opens the door. I mean, I thought that's crazy.
That's
You remember that?
What do you mean?
he punches through the door.
He punches through the door. He's fucking.
Oh yeah, he does.
I mean, that's interesting because it shows like his brute strength and how much of a fucking behemoth he is. A badass behemoth slasher, fucking killer, psychotic jokester.
So she escapes, and that's where you get the famous scream, right? Because she became like this famous.
She was the scream queen. Jamie Lee Curtis was like the scream queen. Cream. Queen. There you go. I can't talk. Yeah, cream.
I actually thought that scene's really, really cool because like you just see her running.
Yeah,
and she's like begging for help, but there's no one there, and it makes you really feel like uncomfortable about it too because she's kind of just trying to escape.
And she goes to a random house. I guess in her neighbors.
Yeah,
it was the
neighbors.
I mean, think about it too. What would you have done? Like, would you go straight to your home if your home was far away, or would you go to the nearest house?
Nearest house, yeah, exactly. And then,
well, I mean, she also just fell down the stairs, so she probably doesn't even want to run. Fuck, this hurts.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. I think it's really cool too because when she gets to the door, she's like trying to open the door like with everything she has.
Yeah. And
like she doesn't have her key, and you start looking. It's kind of really cool shot because you see him. You look back and you see he's coming.
Yeah,
but he's really slow at coming over there.
Yeah, he likes to
she keeps looking back and she's like, wake the fuck up.
Slow enough anyway.
And Tommy's like, what's going on?
She
throws that pot at the window. That's a pretty good fucking throw when you think about it. That's a pretty damn good throw.
I thought she was gonna break the window.
He looked at her. He's like, "What?" She's like, "Open the fucking door!" God damn it.
He's like,
and then he's like, "Okay," and then he goes down.
He's like rubbing his eye.
Kind of fucked up.
While she's screaming.
When I saw that, I thought to myself, I was like, if I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm taking my sweet fucking time because he woke my ass up at this damn time. I'm gonna take my sweet fucking. And you can tell he did that shit too, because when it cuts to him, he's like, what? She's like, go fucking upstairs. He's like, I'm fucking scared.
complete tone shift in the kid. He goes from not giving a shit to fucking
he was like, wait, chill.
He wakes the fuck up.
Yeah, he wakes the fuck up basically.
You know what's really interesting too is that from there on, she goes to like get the phone. Yeah. She locks the door. She gets the phone. She tries to call him, but Mike Myers is that fast.
Not Mike Myers.
Michael Myers. Not Austin Powers, but Michael Myers. He gets the phone. No, somehow he cuts off all the power. To the
somehow,
phone.
yeah.
Very quickly. He's quick. Just when you don't see him, he's really fast. Anyway, so he gets all the power off. She's like, she locks the door, but she doesn't realize. I guess she didn't. She left the back door open. Correct.
I think he went in through like a window or something.
Was it a window?
It was a side window, yeah.
She was a big ass window then.
Yeah, it was a big ass window to fit that fucking polar bear man.
So like he opens the window, or she's like, she knows he's inside the house.
Yeah.
And she like goes to sit on that couch and she grabs that big ass needle. I don't know what that was.
It was interesting. It was like a knitting,
huge one.
No, it was like a knitting, like to knit.
Knitting, yeah.
It was a knitting
needle, yeah.
So like she picked that up. She's like, "This is my weapon," and then like he kind of appears out of nowhere and just fucking gets his polar bear knife and slashes it into the orange ass couch. And she's like, and then he tries to go it again, and then she was like, "Now's my chance," and she stabs it in his neck.
Which I thought was brutal, dude.
And he's like,
oh fuck.
No, he doesn't even make a noise.
Yeah,
that was interesting to me. He's like,
and he just hits the ground like,
I don't know what that.
So he hits the ground and presumably
he takes it out first and then he falls.
Yeah, okay, so he takes it out and then he falls, and then presumably what we think.
We're like, wow, she beat him with a needle.
Wow, yeah, a needle, a giant knitting needle, and we think, oh wow, he's dead.
And what's even confirmed, you feel like that too, because she gets up, she looks at him, and she just looks at him, he's just down, she's done. Yeah. She walks up to the stairs, she's like, and I thought was really cool too is that she's like, did you, what happened to the boogeyman? And
she goes to the kids.
Oh, which I like that line a lot because she goes to the kids and they're like, what happened to the boogeyman? And like, she's like, I killed the boogeyman.
Nice.
And then you see him walking from the distance. And he goes, you can't kill the boogeyman.
You can't kill him.
And then they notice he's right there.
Yeah.
And then you just turn around and you see that fucking infamous mask. Anyways, you see his face, and then what happens here? It kind of gets shaky because apparently the kids are right there.
No, she
locks those kids in the room and she runs off to the other room. That's like across it.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's like, get inside, and she locks the room and she tries to run to the other room.
She's just like, oh, he wants me, all right.
And that's where she finds the closet, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And she
gets in the closet.
She gets in the closet and she locks it with a hanger.
Yeah.
And then
she like ties it. There's like something in there.
Some sort of ritual that she does.
she basically locks the closet door. He's not stupid. He knows she's in the closet. He shakes the shit out of it. He's like, what the fuck is this supposed to open?
You think this can stop me?
He
broke through a fucking door.
He was like, what the fuck? And it's one of those shitty closets, dude. Yeah. The ones that you're just like foldable.
That always break.
You just be like, throw that shit down. But he's like, God damn it. The only door in this whole house I can't open.
Hey, it was the 70s. They made it right back then.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right about that.
Yeah. So what he does is he punches through that fucking piece of shit. He just starts
like ripping it apart.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's like a really famous scene too because it's like you see him up close and personal, which I really like a lot too.
I think it was interesting really cool because like he punches like through the door and then he's just like waving his arm around and that like turns on the light, and then when the light turns on he just fucking shoves his whole body like in the closet door, and then she's like and then like he's still like slapping around, I guess.
He's trying to grab her.
Yeah, still trying to grab her and like turn it on, flickering the light on and off. And like before that, she had grabbed a coat hanger from the top. A wire hanger.
Which I thought was really interesting too, because would you ever thought that would have been a weapon? Like to turn that into a weapon?
I think that's the beauty of horror films in general. I think I can't remember who it was. It was this documentary I was watching. They're like, this one thing that horror movies teach us is that don't save women because women can save themselves, and it's like totally moves like that kind of strengthened that point.
Okay.
Because I would be there like, fuck, I'm fucked, and then she goes and makes a weapon out of a wire coat hanger and stabs him in the eye.
Yeah, and then I think what's really cool too is the first time you see him get stabbed with his own knife, because she grabs his knife and she just shoves it into like his chest. He's like,
he's like, oh,
and then you see him hit the floor, and
he's making like these weird grunts. Something. What is that? That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
So he does that. He falls to the ground, and then what happens? She goes out the
She
closet.
escapes a closet, and
But she's just like
she
she
gets
thinks she's
out.
just like, oh my god, I'm saved. We're saved. We're good. We're good.
yeah, she tells
Everything's
the kids to like go get. I think she tells them to like.
cool. Go to
She
go.
tells them to go down the stairs and out the front door because that wasn't self-explanatory, and then down the street to the Mackenzie's house to call the police.
Okay, that's reasonable.
And she's like trying to like recover from it,
And
all
she's
because
like,
she thinks she's beating him, and then
She's
he rises his ass up like the Undertaker and looks
Smackdown,
Rest
baby.
in peace. No.
Watch out.
Watch out. No, but he gets up and he like walks up to her. She doesn't realize that. And that's when he grabs her, right?
With the steel chair. I'm sorry.
No, that was but he grabs her and like she tries to like choke her out, right?
Yeah, he grabs her really brutally, and he just fucking
just, like,
grabs her with
shaking her.
both the monster polar bear hands and just starts shaking her fucking body.
But she escapes because she grabs this mask.
Yeah,
And she takes and she rips it off, and he's like, "What the hell?"
and that's really interesting, right?
When those kids were going outside, those kids were
caught Loomis's attention.
Caught Loomis's attention. And Loomis was like, "Holy shit, he must be in here."
Yeah,
So
so he
Loomis-
gets his polar bear gun.
And then you finally see what that fucking polar bear gun can actually do. And he goes up there, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And then he looks Michael Myers in the face, and he's all, "Die, bear, die!" He shoots that fucking magnum.
He doesn't shoot him once. He shoots him fucking
6 times.
6 times with magnums.
Not only that, the polar bear of a man flies off the balcony.
Yeah, flies off. the
Possibly
roof.
breaking his neck, hits the ground straight
Back
up,
first.
boom,
Back first.
and then like Loomis stares off, like looking at Laurie, and he like looks up, he looks over the balcony, and what happens, Jake?
He's gone.
He
He's
is
gone.
He's gone.
And and that's because after that you hear just heavy breathing in like different
Yeah.
locations
Of where he might be.
to symbolize that he still could be alive.
He's
He
still
could
out
still
there.
have 8 more movies.
Ooh, and Halloween Resurrection. Halloween Resurrection.
So
That was really good.
that basically, though, what do you really think? Like,
What do I think?
what do you think about the movie?
Okay.
Like this, like a quick synopsis. What do
Okay,
you-
I think. What are you trying to ask in general?
like, what did you think about the movie? What do you think what was the point of the film, or what are you
to
your
analyze,
overall,
like,
your overall review? What you think?
oh, I think. I personally do think. We're good. But I personally do think that that along the way of whatever happened, Michael Myers did not, and his family did not look like they were out of the ordinary, or like his parents showed physical harm happening to Michael. So I don't know if there was something wrong with Michael from a birth defect. He's not stupid, and he's not stupid or dumb, but I don't know what triggered in his mind to ultimately kill, I guess you can say.
Okay.
You're kind of looking at me funny, but
No, I'm listening to you.
But I guess like he got interested, and when he first killed his sister, and whatever triggered that, I guess that's what he took away from, I guess, life. And he was held up for how many years?
15.
15 years, and I'm pretty sure he reminisced every day about killing his sister, and that's pretty much what he wanted to do.
I think that's the beauty of it, though, is that we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, that's kind of like how I see it, and it's just like he got fascinated by murdering people. I mean, that's kind of like vague for me, but yeah.
I mean, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't really. You can probably dive into a psychopath's head, but it's just like
No, you can.
you really can't.
You can.
You can try to understand, but it's really hard to try to pinpoint one specific thing. And that's what I like about it too, that you don't really know, and it's kind of a mystery of why he does it. And that's why I think it's beautiful, because in his mask he's so like emotionless.
He's no longer a person.
He's no longer
He's
a person.
a monster.
He's a monster. And so that's what I think.
What do you think, Jake? What did you think about the film overall when you look back at it?
When I look back at it, I think it's definitely a film that's ahead of its time. You know, like we had it at the time. Well, I say we as if I'm a part of that generation.
You're younger than both of us.
But I think that was definitely new for audiences at the time, seeing a horror movie in that way, where it was the killer's point of view, you know.
Okay.
Thing, minus Peeping Tom, of course, which was the first one to do it. But you know, that was totally new ground, and it totally freaked people out. And I think that's really cool to introduce this new way of like a scary movie. You know, like it wasn't the slasher movie at the time. It was another horror movie. I think that's really cool. So.
I find that interesting. I think when I take a look back at it, it doesn't feel like. Well, it does feel like it definitely is a movie of generations. Like it's like a symbol of like a slasher film. But it's interesting because it's not the first one.
Yeah.
But I definitely do feel like this movie shows that it's the first time you feel like it really shows what happened to people. Like if you look going on streets nowadays, you don't see people walking down streets. You don't really see people generally doing that. Or the people are really have a lot of security systems for homes, and you look at it, there's a lot of ways to protect yourself. People have guns in their locations or their homes, and if you really look at it, just altogether, like Halloween created a fear to certain people. And I think to this day, I think a lot of people do look at that movie, and obviously there's a lot of large majority of people that think like it's fake, obviously, right? Yeah. But there is a lot of people that do believe there's crazy people out there that one day will take that chance to kill them or to kill their family. And I think that this movie definitely shows what has resulted from that, because there's a lot of people out there today, even me, you, and Jake, if we go on the street and we walk by, if we were to walk on the street and we saw a car slowing down, or if we saw a person from a distance talking to themselves or just staring at us, we find it uncomfortable. And we find it uncomfortable because we've seen these movies before, and this movie especially shows like you're seeing it for yourself, and you're going to think like, this is possible. And I think that's what the movie did. It created this idea that basically you have to be very careful no matter what. And each character in that film, they didn't feel like they felt like they were too safe. In a nice neighborhood, nothing was going on, and they never knew something like that could happen. And I think that movie made all of us people believe that it can happen at any time, anywhere, even on Halloween, on one of the most innocent nights of the year. So that's what I take away from it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's basically been our review, or basically I wouldn't say review. That's what
kind of how we feel
about Halloween. Yeah. We had our guest, the great Jake Gonzalez, the one and only. We're hoping to bring Jake again. So
we'll bring her back for Halloween Resurrection.
Or maybe we'll do Halloween, the new one that came out. No, it's H40, right?
What the fuck did you just say to me? Okay, just for that, we're watching Halloween Resurrection, and we're gonna watch every single goddamn Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Because
Jake, stop him, Jake.
Listen, Freddie Myers. Freddie Myers is a legend that we need to talk about.
Good night, everybody.
For another time.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
We're gonna watch Halloween Resurrection.
Let it go. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.